There is still a bunch of crap at the bottom of my lungs. It's been like 2 weeks now. I've got this post-viral cough, dry cough, gets worse at night. And when I get like this, man, I always have this urge to breathe, to go for a run, to go for a bike ride, to play basketball, to do cardio essentially. I just want to clear the lungs. And this morning, got up, sat down to watch the NBA Finals Game 5, and I thought, why don't I put the freaking stationary bike in front of the TV and I just ride along as I watch? So I did that. I ended up doing an hour-long ride on the bike. Nothing strenuous, man, like just moving my limbs around. The breathing was elevated somewhat, a little bit, but nothing crazy. And I spent an hour, got up, walked around, and the feeling that I had walking around was basically similar to the feeling that I get when I do Hatfield squats. And by that I mean I felt my hip flexors open. I felt my quads really pumped up. I just felt my hips open. You know, like it was effortless to walk. The quads were on the map. And he had me like puzzled there for a little bit. I'm thinking about like all the stuff that I've read this year about, you know, intensity training and training the legs with high volume, high repetitions. Arthur Jones, if you guys know who that is, the guy that taught Mike Menzer, the way they trained. And I remember one of the lectures that I listened to by Arthur Jones, whether you like it or not, you know, he's just another voice in the industry that I think is worth listening to, whether you agree or not. And I remember he said that the lower body is very inefficient. And he went on to elaborate, saying how there's many fibers in the legs. So let's say the quads, huge muscle group, many fibers. It is very difficult to engage all of those fibers until you go to failure. You really exhaust the first fibers, and then as they start to fizzle out, you start to kind of tap into other fibers. And eventually, if you do enough repetitions, you're going to exhaust all of the fibers. And this is what growth is about. This is kind of what Tom Platz talked about with doing freaking 30 repetitions, 50 repetitions in the barbell squats. Well, here I am in the middle of my living room watching the NBA Finals, doing 1,000,000 freaking reps. Yes, very maximal, but 1,000,000 reps. And when I got off that bike, I felt engaged with my quads, unlike I ever feel when I do barbell squats, 5s and 10s. Sometimes even when I do sets of 20s. Yeah, I feel the quads, don't get me wrong. But when you get off a bike, now that's a freaking pump. Now, the pump is something that we can debate whether it's good or bad or ugly or whatever. The point is that if you're working a muscle and if you're purely thinking about bodybuilding and you are not getting any pump at all, that's a problem. Now, that doesn't mean that all you think about is pumps, but when you train day in, day out, and you never feel a muscle engage, and then you look at the mirror and, yeah, it's not growing, well, you can pretty safely conclude that you're not really working that muscle. Other muscles like my hamstrings, my adductors, my glutes, they grow, and they grow a lot. And it's evident because that's where I feel when I move in the squat and the deadlift. I'm thinking to myself, man, maybe the quads are all about high reps. Kind of like what Arthur Jones talked about, Mike Menzer and Tom Platz. Lots of freaking reps. Lots and lots of freaking reps. This is probably why I see a lot of people around me in my life, personal life, who don't do any barbell lifting, who do a lot of endurance type stuff, and they seem to have really good quad development. It's weird. Cyclists with really nice quads. Makes me wonder, man. Makes me wonder, are we missing something for those of us that are, you know, in love with the barbell world and train? Are we missing something? Now, you can do barbell squats for a rep of 200, for a set of 200. Very impractical because other structures are going to start to fail way before you even approach the quad fatigue. So you need to look at other places where you don't have to engage the core as much. The bike is a nice one. That's kind of what was on my mind today as I was doing the cardio. Just interesting feedback from something that shouldn't be giving me this feeling. Just interesting. And the fact that I walked off that bike feeling open, my hip flex is unbelievable. My anterior pelvic tilt disappeared. Quads are on the map, hips are open. Felt really nice to squat. I did Hatfield squats today. Yes, I was pretty fatigued, but I managed to 60. Yes, it was harder. It just felt good to have the mobility. It felt good to be within my hips and my quads. Interesting thoughts. Appreciate you guys, like always, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.